All right, everyone, what's going on? Welcome back. It's the Lenten season here in the world. I guess the world, it's the world. And what that means is hot cross buns. This is something that is in Catholic and Christian traditions for generations now, and we're going to have a look into that. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A, your daily dose of Coffee Q&A here on the OnoCoffee channel. I'm Jay, your host, and we do this live stream about coffee, some form of coffee, most Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. We're here because it is Lent, right? Last Wednesday was Ash Wednesday, and that marks the beginning of Lent on the way to Easter, to the death of Christ, and then his resurrection and that whole thing. If you've been in the world for any amount of time, you probably have heard this story. Whether or not you believe it or not, it's the general story, right? And so this time of year is the time for the hot cross buns. And originally the cross buns were something that Christians would eat on Good Friday, right? The day that Christ dies and is persecuted on the cross for basically pissing off everybody, right? He was this like young carpenter who went around the countryside gathering people, telling them radical ideas about loving your neighbor, accepting each other, welcoming prostitutes and welcoming tax collectors. He did all of this stuff, feeding people. God, this guy goes out onto the mountain, onto the hillside, and he starts giving people food for free. Who does this guy think he is? Like, that's just unbelievable. Like, what? You're going to give them accounts as well and just give them free food? That's just ridiculous. So he pissed off all these people, and he challenged people. He challenged the leadership. He was like, I'm a Jew, and you shouldn't be listening to these because these guys are all like messed up, and they killed him for it. That's Christ. They killed him for it. And so this cross represents the cross that they nailed him to and left him to die, right? They left him to die in a grotesque manner, put nails through his hands, pierced him with a spear, and the Romans, they're just kind of like, whatever, man, these, they're the Jews. They're like the lowest of the low. We don't care what they're doing. So I don't even think Pontius Pilate, like if you look at the Bible, Pontius Pilate didn't care. He was like, whatever. Yeah, I wash my hands clean because I don't even know what you guys are upset about. It's your leadership that wants to kill him because he's like, he's not doing anything to me. He's not ruining my governorship. Right, so this symbolizes him nailed to the cross, dying a slow and agonizing death along with common criminals, right? That's Christ. That's what Christ is about, and that's what this represents. Now, for a long time, this was only allowed to be eaten on Good Friday. But you know what? As all good things come, we don't really worry too much about like the limitations. As long as there's a Lent, it's time to eat, right? It's just this whole period, right? So that's what's going on. Kent, how are you? Naomi, how are you doing? Now, what is the hot cross bun? The hot cross bun is actually in a pagan of origin, right? There's actually a great article about them that I linked it down below in the description from it's from a woman, I think it's a woman, Regula Yesewigin, right? I think that's how you pronounce. I don't really know how you pronounce it. Regular. This is a great article that talks about the origins of hot cross buns. And originally it started as a pagan tradition, which is really interesting because paganism is something that Catholics, right? Because it all starts with Catholicism, right? Catholics, there's Christ, then there's Peter, Paul, and Mary, not the band, the original band. And they start this church, right? And the Church of Peter, right? That's why it's called St. Peter's Basilica. And they start this church and it grows and grows and grows. And then later there's some schisms, right? There's some people that get upset, right? Martin Luther at some point, like the 1600s or whatever it was, or 1200s, he's upset because, he's like, man, we need to break away from the church because salvation is just very difficult, right? Like you have to do all of this work as a Catholic to be saved by the Lord and sent to heaven and to eternal glory. You have to do all this work, and I don't want to do all that. I just want to make it simple. Let's just make it simple that accept Christ as your Savior, and then you're saved. And that's so super easy. So he breaks away as a Protestant and starts the offshoot of Protestantism. And then later, there's another breakaway, right, with, what is it, King Henry Henry's like, he goes to the Pope. He's like, I'm loyal to you, Pope, but you know what? I've got my wife, Catherine of Aragon, and for whatever reason, there's this girl named Anne, and Anne is kind of hot, and I kind of want to get with Anne. So I want you to let me go from my marriage so I can get with Anne. The Pope is like, no, that's not what we believe. You can't do that. So the king is like, well, then forget you. We're going to start our own church. We're out of here, right? So these are like the big schisms that created Christianity, modern day Christianity, from Catholicism, right? Catholics. And so it all kind of ties in. But back in the old days, when it came to the hot cross buns, this was a pagan thing, right? So the cross was on a bun already by the pagans. The pagans, I think, from what I've been reading, pagans were party people, right? They had this whole festum of Saturnalia in the late part of the year, like in that time that we think of as December, right? They had this whole like big festival and everyone's like all excited. And I think the popes were like, hey, we need to grow the church. We need to get more influence. We need to get more souls to be saved. We need to like increase our land holdings, increase our wealth, increase our power. And all of these people are pagans, right? And they're just all like partying. We can't celebrate Christ's birth in June when these people are partying for Saturnalia. We need to co-opt that, right? So they basically took the church and they were like, okay, we're going to move Christ's birthday from like somewhere around June, right? In Jerusalem, in Bethlehem, we're going to move it to December and tie it with Saturnalia. And then we're going to start to entice these pagans to come join Catholicism, right? That's kind of how it all journeyed. So there's a lot of cool stuff that happened with pagans that had trickled down into modern day Christian belief. So, and this is the more delicious one of them, right? Because they had to find something, because you know what? Communion wafers, body of Christ, yeah, it's fine, whatever, it's fine, but not too flavorful. This is definitely much more flavorful. Why do we eat more flavorful stuff on that? So this is originally supposed to be on Good Friday. Like you're supposed to eat, Christ dies, eat the sweet bun with the cross because he's nailed to the cross. But when he's risen and he's alive, we eat these little teeny tiny wafers. That's just kind of like bland and just, whatever. Why? Why are we not eating the celebratory bread for, I don't know. Anyway, these are the things that a young boy growing up in a Catholic church wonders as you're sitting in the pews, like, why am I here again? Listen to this homily because it just takes too long. I actually started coming to Mass like after the first reading. I was trying to time it so I wouldn't have to be there so long, right? Like, that's the thing. It's kind of strange. Like you're in this faith of religion, right? And you've got this whole thing where it's like, there's this massive deity, right? That God, like God is all powerful, all encompassing, all knowing, everything about the world. And he's taking attendance on Sunday. Doesn't he know where I am? He knows that. He knows what I'm doing. Like, right? I don't know. But anyway. So what is the hot cross bun? The hot cross bun is a spice bun. Now, there's many different recipes depending where you go. Mom, how are you? Good morning to you. And Bon Castro, good morning, good evening to you in the Philippines. How is it going? And Nuri says, I've never had this one. You're down in the South. I'm sure they have these. And this is the great time to buy them because actually, like, I got this one from one of the other bakeries. But I usually go to my normal favorite bakery, Simon's. They had them last weekend and I got one. Man, they're so nice. And I haven't tried this one yet, but these are a little bit different, a little bit loftier, I think. Look at that crumb. That crumb looks so very nice. Power Plant says it's okay. So if we're talking about hedonistic indulgences, which if you're talking Catholicism, you're not supposed to be doing those kind of things. Like being hedonistic in Catholicism is really, really like completely frowned upon. Like we don't tolerate those kind of things, right? That's just not part of it, right? We're not supposed to do those kind of things. But these are so I got these from this local bakery. We're going to try these, but basically they're typically these look like, gosh, that looks like a cranberry, doesn't it? It looks so red. It looks cranberry. Normally there's raisins and a little bit of spice, typically nutmeg and maybe some allspice and maybe just a hint of cinnamon. And then you put this cross on it Now we put cross with like a glaze, but I think in the old days they did. I don't know what they did in the old days. I'm not old enough to know what happened in those old days. So yeah, here we are. Cross buns. We're gonna eat these. We're gonna have coffee, and we're gonna see what's going on. Maku, how are you, man? Good to see you. So this little bit different. I do think that looks like cranberries to me. Anyway, you could put whatever you. Oh, there's cranberries and there's raisins. Oh, there's two. Both are in there. You can kind of see there's both. But I gotta say, if you look at that link to Regula's article, it's actually really, really interesting. And there's also a link to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is kind of good, but it's Regula really gets into like some nitty gritty that I had never even thought about for like hot cross buns. I was like, oh, let's get it. So I'm going to have to go back and read more of it. But we're going to try to make this, and we're going to have coffee because coffee is what we do here. And speaking of coffee, we've got this is the Espresso 99. I'm going to go for this as brewed coffee because mainly we had the last brew, we did 2 brews of pour over, and I have not been pleased with the results as far as like the grind setting after fixing the grinder. So we need to like tune that in a little bit more. We were at 7 yesterday, and we're still pushing like 5-minute brew time. So it's like, man, it's just bothering me. I was gonna go to actually I was trying to do French press, and then I was like, I gotta fix this brew thing. Like it's nagging at me. Naomi says, I'm sure power plant, but I know it was a similar. I did notice there is some similarities, but I do think that the cinnamon bun is more. Because you go to Cinnabon, right? And I mean Cinnabon specifically because Cinnabon has that super like soft and chewy texture. Like this doesn't have that. Like we could just look at this and see, right? Look at the crumb, right? You can see the crumb here is kind of lofty and the cell structures are rather large, right? The Cinnabon is not like that. The Cinnabon is tighter. It's just chewy. It's got beautiful chewing. I love what. And it's so big. I just love eating. My brother's a big Cinnabon fan. I'm not as big of a Cinnabon fan as my brother, but if he sees a Cinnabon, he has to have it. Like if I see a Cinnabon, I have to be in the mood. All right. Actually, now that we're talking about these cinnamon rolls, it makes me think about another local bakery called Bethany's. I think they make the best cinnamon rolls that I've ever had, and it's very different than the Cinnabons because the Cinnabons have this, like I said, that chewy texture, but these are not. Bethany's are not chewy. They actually use laminated dough like croissant dough, but I just love the way it comes together. Just love it. Power Plant says, I've been to Vatican City, maybe one of the least meek places. Oh yeah. The Catholic Church is a very powerful church. Like, I mean, if you look at actually it's kind of strange because I grew up. So if you haven't guessed by now, I grew up Catholic, right? Filipinos, we tend to be Catholic, right? And the church that I grew up in was very ornate. Like it was a small church here in Baltimore, but just really ornate, like all this carved marble and like, angels carved and like all this fanfare to God, right? And I was like, okay, I like that. I like that actually. When it comes to like Catholicism, I kind of like the older traditions, right? Like there's this one Catholic church that was very modern here, actually close to where I live now. And we would go, my friends, that was their local parish. So sometimes we would check it out, but it was always very modern. Like like nowadays, it's like hyper modern. Like they've got a band and they've got like video. It looks like it's some kind of evangelical church, that you see in other parts of the country. And I'm just kind of like, that's not my kind of deal, right? I'm kind of like when I met one of my good friends who's now a Catholic priest, but back then he was just a Christian brother, a monk. And he was like, we were living in Honolulu. He's like, yeah, there's this place that does Latin Mass. I was like, Latin Mass? Like it was like this black sheep of the Diocese of Honolulu, right? It's like these guys were like having this Mass in the what do they call it? The pre-Vatican II. Like there's something called Vatican I and Vatican II, these big conclaves or big like reformations of the church, right? And it was like pre-Vatican II. So like they did it in Latin. So you couldn't understand what they were saying. And then and I don't know if you know about this, but like, in most in most any kind of religious service, the lead person, the pastor, the priest, or whatever you call it, faces the people, right? And does the whole thing to the people. In pre-days, in the Latin Mass, they would do it with the backs to the audience, to the faithful, I guess, the audience, right? And they would face and do this whole thing to the altar. And they change all that because, the Catholic Church wanted to make it more friendly. They're always trying to attract more people, so they're trying to make it more friendly. But when I went to that one, I was like, oh, I like this better. I can't understand a word they're saying. Not that I'm paying attention normally. So it's like, well, okay, all I would know is, okay, here's the first reading, here's the second reading, here's now I can't remember. Here's the gospel or the homily, and then the sermon, and then the consecration, then the communion, the communion, then consecration, and then we go home, right? All I'm interested in is the progression. Like, okay, I know first reading, second reading, gospel reading, the pontification by the priest. He did that in English. He didn't do that in Latin. And then like the communion, and then the consecration, and then you go home. Oh, okay, come and go home. That's all. So, when you grow up in a world like that, like listening to a mass in Latin, or even like when I travel around the world, if I go to like the Philippines, it's in Tagalog, or if I'm in Mexico, it's in Spanish. So it's like, it's all the same to me, right? Anyway, but we're going to make this, and we're going to make some coffee. So let's make some coffee. We're going to get our scale here, our fellow scale. My friend Matt has been having adventures with his ode. He also got an ode Gen 2, total fail. Then his Aiden, more fail. I'm like, man, what's going on here? But the strange thing is that he's told me that he messaged customer service at Fellow about the problem with the grinder, and basically actually maybe I can. Didn't he send me a video? He sent me a video. Since we're talking about this, okay. So here's the video. That's, I don't know if you could hear that very well, but he sent me a message. He showed me that video, and he was like, "Look at this thing. This is so ridiculous." And I said, and then what did he say? He said, I emailed Fellow the videos telling them it was right out of the box, and they clearly didn't read them. They suggested not grinding such hard beans. I was like, they suggested not grind hard beans. What kind of beans are you going to grind? Like, it's not, and they're roasted, for God's sake. So I have to say that I wonder, like, I've always wondered about this when it came to like our experiences here, because I send them links to our videos for these live streams because they've happened on the live streams, and I wonder, like, are they this responsive because they're this responsive, or are they this responsive because we're running it on YouTube? I wonder. And I was really surprised that they would give such a response, just grind such hard beans. Hard beans? What in the world? Anton's here. What's going on, man? Such hard fellow, half no teeth. Papa says the fellow is a big skip. Look good, but QC is pretty. Yeah, it seems that it's really poor, because Matt was also telling me yesterday. He was like, man, they had that new espresso machine that finally released, and everybody, of course, is like clamoring for it. Although to me, it looks like a decent, or it looks like the what's the other one from Seattle? Synesso. Looks like the Synesso, right? And evidently, he was telling me that he was reading a Reddit thread, and everybody, like, a lot of people are having problems with them. I'm like, oh man, such nice looking machines, but not good. Naomi says, I can't hate on them since I've not had a problem. I mean, I don't hate on them. Actually, this has been very good. Like this, I'm surprised we've had no issues here. So, and it's not to say that, because other people have issues that everyone should hate on them, but I think that it's important to be aware of, just in case there's problems, right? Like that grinder will eventually crap out on us again. All right, we're going to go 24. Should probably zoom in a little bit more so you can see. 24.4. Great. And we're going to put that in our grinder. Our fellow what is it? Fellow Ode Gen 2. Here it is. Here it is. Now we've been at 7, and I'm going to now go a little bit coarser. Actually, since it took us 5 minutes at this grind setting, I'm going to go all the way to 8. So 3 clicks over. Get our So we got our setup here. We're going to use the Kogu brewer with the Kogu base kettle server, and this time we're going to use Melita #4 filters because just a little bit change. And as you know, the Melitas don't have the same size, right? The same shape. So we just kind of fold them over at the seams, just like that. So this is a great way in case you run out of like conical filters and you need to make a conical filter. That's a great way to go. Okay, let's see here. We're going to put this here. Now I have to remember to tare. And then add our coffee. All right, now shake, shake, shake so that it's nice and level. Great. Okay, so we're just waiting for the water to boil now. Naomi says, I've had my Gen 1 with Gen 2 burrs since Kickstarter. I wonder if there's any kind of, when they went to the Gen 2, I wonder if they made some kind of changes to their componentry or quality stuff that would precipitate more issues. I wonder, right? Like perhaps the Gen 1s, when they went to Gen 2, they found ways to make the manufacturing a little bit easier, a little bit cheaper. I don't know that. That's just speculation. All right, here we go. Boiling water. We got our kettle here. Let's get our kettle. I'm gonna fill it up with the boiling water. Let's go to it. So hit this button. That's going to give us our timer. Make sure we get all saturation of the coffee. I'm going to go 85 grams, more or less. Anyone says that's a thought that could be, that could be, and that's just a guess on my part, just a total guess. Now, one little aberration we're having, you can see right here how there's a little bit of a hoop. And what you can't really see on the side here is that a little bit of that fold is bulging between the ribs. So that could be, I don't know if that's really going to be much of an issue, but that's just maybe where coffee will hide out. Okay, that went pretty fast. We got 40 seconds for those first 85 grams to flow through. So that's a pretty quick flight. If we're running at if we're trying to maintain a pace of 100 grams per minute, we're actually ahead. We're almost at 150 at just over a minute. Now, I always like to get all of that on the edges, like saturated, because it just I don't know if it actually makes too much of a difference, but it just bothers me aesthetically, and my OCD just wants to make sure that everything is saturated. So what do you guys got going on this weekend? Anything good? Matt is giving a little coffee thing at the wood store, so we're going to go to that tomorrow. Just enjoy coffee and talk wood. talk wood. And then, and then I got another wood event on Sunday morning. Something called Wood Church. It's a bi-monthly event where people get together to, again, talk wood. It's kind of strange. But this will be my first time going to it. It's been running since the summer, but I haven't had the opportunity to go until this month or until this. Yeah, it'll be March 1st when we do that. And then I think next weekend is the change back to daylight savings. So the days will get longer. We're going to go spring back an hour, so that'll be a little bit. I've never thought it was difficult to do the daylight savings, but last year I felt it was a little bit difficult. 3 minutes. Oh, now we're falling behind. As the filters get clogged, the resistance becomes greater, the flow rate becomes slower. I'm going to try to catch up. 355 is our target. The temptation is always just to fill it and hit that number right away, but then it doesn't really change it. It just lifts the coffee bed, and I don't want to lift it further than it already is established. But this is looks like it's going to be somewhat of an improvement. We're talking a full number in particulate size on the grinder, but we're not talking at 4 minutes. We're not talking too fast. I'm going to push it all the way to the 355. There we go. All right, 355. I'm going to wait for that to continue to. All right, about 4:12, 4:13 now the brew is kind of finished. So let's have should go here. Keep that there. Right, there we go. All right, now toss that out. That's what I like about these pour-overs. You just kind of toss them. Not too much cleaning. Like if you do the French press, like I was thinking, you got to do all this clean and such rigmarole, I tell you. Okay, now let's grab our coffee class. Here we are with our brew. Let's see how it tastes. Let's give it a little taste to that. You know what? Let me just. As a brewed coffee, the espresso definitely has more of a stronger bitterness to it, right? The House Nation, which is a different blend, but it doesn't have that kind of heavy bitterness on the front. In its brewed form, this is it's got good body, some underlying sweetness. All right, let's go look at our bun now. Here's our buns. Now, as you can see, 3 have been eaten. But when you look at the buns, you always kind of have to look at, okay, what's the best way to have the bun? And I think that, you look at it, it's always a preferential thing, right? So we got, let's say these 5 buns. This one here looks to be the biggest. Like just physically, it looks bigger. I mean, probably not that, but definitely bigger than this one. Similar in size to this one. And actually, these are similar. This is a little bit small. That's the smallest. But look at the way the small one is, right? Look at the small one. It's got this more caramelization on the bun part. And you can see that this was added. The cross is always added after, right? That's that way you keep it. But you can see here that it's got more burn, more caramelization than the other ones, which tells us that, it could give a little bit of crunchiness, or it could be a little bit of. Anton's asking, are they still hot? No, unfortunately, they're. I could tell you they're hot and act as though they're hot, like we would in a cooking show, or like one of those like Gordon Ramsay shows. But no, I mean, it's now 10:30. Like if I'd pulled it out of the oven right before we started, it'd be half an hour old now. So no, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not that hot. But. So we would find this to be a little bit drier, probably a little more resistive, a little bit, just different. But for me, I like that textural juxtaposition. So I'm I personally am inclined to have this, right? This would be my first choice. But I think if we're going to really look at the qualitative aspects of the hot cross bun, this being the biggest will give us probably the most resist, and it's also in the center, so it has the most resistance to the heated environment of the oven. So I think that's probably going to be what we might consider the prime example, right? Naomi says, I've used the House Nation for my lattes before and quite like it. Oh, nice. Okay, good, good. I mean, they're not meant to be terribly different, but they are meant to be a little bit different. But, you know, I think they can be used either way. So they're just cross buns. You know, must the Germans be so technically oriented? Why? Looks tasty. They do look tasty. I have not tried these yet. I stole this from my mom because I saw her this morning. I was like, let me borrow those for the show. Or yesterday, and then I just accidentally made my pour own. And it tastes a bit. Oh man, that's too bad. That's too bad. My condolences. Okay, let's break this open. We're going to break this open. Nice turn, pulls apart. Yeah, if only this was hot. Like this would be pretty dope hot. Look at the crumb. The crumb. I mean, it looks nice. Like it looks very nice. There's a glaze, and not only does it have this cross glaze, but there's actually like a honey glaze on top of it, so it has that stickiness. And like I said, these are made with spices, right? And the spices, so the cross is meant to symbolize the nailing of Christ to this cross to die a horrible death. And then the spices that they use, the spices they say, and I don't know if this is just like lore that they created to like make it seem more pious so that they could sell more buns. But the spices are theoretically supposed to suggest the spices or the chemicals they use to embalm Christ's body. Like, which is, you know, so the idea is that they're going to embalm Christ. I don't think they did, but let's say that the story is that they embalmed Christ, right? After they pull him down from the cross, they rip his nails out of his hands and his feet, and they take him off the cross, and then they embalm him before they put him in the tomb. If they actually did embalm Christ, and he rose from the dead like he's supposed to have, all the greater indication that he must be a son of God, because man, like if you replace your fluids with embalming fluid and then 2 to 3 days later you come back to life, like, okay, that's some stuff right there. That's some stuff. So we've got the spices, we got the raisins. I don't know what the raisins are supposed to be. These are raisins, but like I said earlier, like if you look at this one, look how red that is. That's no raisin. That looks like some kind of craisin, right? Cranberries. So it's raisins and cranberry. But even though we're talking about like, these are just generally the idea. Like there's different versions. Some people will make them like fruit, like what they're called, that fruit cake. So they'll have like other types of preserved fruits. So you can make it in any way that you want. I think that the main thing is that it should be a sweet dough and it should have the cross. Like if it doesn't have the cross, it's not a hot cross bun, right? And if it's not hot, it's not a hot cross bun either. So yes, it is hot. It is hot right now. Like, oh, so hot, so hot. Right? Anton says raisins are the best. And the taste, it is. I think it is. I haven't tasted it yet. And Anton says, I would scrape the cross off. You look at you, bad Catholic. Are you Catholic? I mean, I can never tell if Germans are going to be Catholic or if they're going to be Protestant. Right? I think it's like split. And it's strange because I grew up here in Baltimore, right? So Baltimore is kind of unique. And I didn't learn this too much later, but Baltimore's kind of unique in the United States because while people were persecuted, evidently Catholics, when they came to America, were persecuted by the Protestants, right? Because I guess they're angry for whatever reason. Like, you wouldn't let our king sleep with Anne Boleyn, so we had to start our own church, so now we're mad at you. I think that's kind of the basic gist of it, right? But so Catholics came to Baltimore, and, growing up in Baltimore, being Filipino, first of all, we're Catholics to begin with. And then growing up in Baltimore, it's like everybody's majority Catholics here. So you're like, and this is just normal world, right? But evidently it's not. Like you go outside of Baltimore, it's like, oh, there's not too many Catholics, right? It's very odd. So the whole Catholic Church in the United States is really based here. And it was an interesting thing, right? And so we're gonna eat this hot cross bun. Anton says, I'm anti-religion. Ah, gotcha. Still, officially, still evangelic, though. Evangelic, really? There's evangelic Christianity in which is different than the like the Lutherans, right? Is that right? When it comes to outside of Catholicism, I really don't know very much. Like it's all kind of confusing because it's like so many sects. There's so many sects of like Christians out there. It's like, huh? Who are you with? Like I remember one time my friend got married. She lived in San Jose, California. She was like, come to my wedding. I was like, all right, we'll come to your wedding. We went to her wedding, one of my friends from college, and she's Episcopalian. So we go to the Episcopalian church. And if you ever go to Catholic weddings, like it's a long affair. Like you've got the full mass. And typically it's not just the regular mass, which is like 45 minutes long. They want to do the high mass with all this music and singing and then all of the wedding ceremony stuff. And you're like, man, this is going to be at least an hour, probably hour and a half. Good Lord, it could be 2 hours depending on how much people talk, right? So as a Catholic, you're kind of steeling yourself for that. And so I was steeling myself in San Jose for this whole like rigmarole. And we go to this church, right? We're there. My friends are there from college. We sit down and they're like, welcome to the church. Here's our couple. Do you take your vows? Yes. Go in peace to serve, love, and serve the Lord. And I was like, what? 15? We were like 20 minutes. I was like, wait, what? We're done? We're going to the reception to eat? Okay, that's what I like. I was like, all right, these Episcopalians, I can dig with that. Like they're kind of like Catholic light, so it's like fast mass, like fast. Everything was fast. I was like, right on. And I actually learned this in high school that there can be Catholic mass that's fast, right? Like at my school, like I went to a Catholic high school, which I would guess, well, nowadays they consider it a prep school. I think it was considered a prep school then. They didn't call it prep school. Now it's all like fancy. But back then, they would have mass every morning because it was all Jesuit priests. And so they would have all these masses every morning. And I remember on one morning, for some whatever reason, I went to one. Started like 7 a.m. We were done by 7, way before 7:30, like 20 minutes. I was like, you could do mass in 20 minutes? Man, we're getting ripped off on Sundays. Like we're getting ripped off. I could be like doing other stuff on Sunday except hanging out here for like an hour. So terrible. Evangelic is Protestants. Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm not super sure of the difference either, says Nomi. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's just a little bit crazy when it comes to those kind of things. All right, but really what we're here for is the food, right? That's really the only thing that we worry about. Like everything bases around food. Like right now or recently, Muslims just had their whole like Ramadan, like they were doing this fasting, suffering and fasting. And then suddenly it's like, oh, it's time to eat. All right, time to eat. That's a beautiful thing. And that's why we have, and that's why I think like Christians were like, we can only eat this on Good Friday. They kept questioning that. And then finally they just broke down. We're like, okay, we're just going to, because I think just Christians stopped caring. They're like, Christian bakers were like, we can sell this other days and make more money. And so they started doing that and then people just started eating it. So let's have a look here. We're going to tear into this thing. Oh, it's got nice texture, like it's nice and soft, moist, a little spongy. Oh. Now, compared to the one that I had from Simon's last weekend, this is a bit sweeter. So it's got a sweet crumb to it. Ooh. Nice, soft, chewy texture. Not quite chewy like Cinnabon, but kind of in that direction. Oh, this is something you can eat very, very greedily. Like that's. I need to. Okay, now I will eat it kind of greedily because God, that's really. Oh, that's good. Like this is hot. My gosh. Oh yeah, that's definitely craisins. Now here's the thing: if you want to have something like this, right? You get something like this. I highly encourage you to take the time to put it in the oven like 350 degrees for like just a few minutes and let that heat it. You can microwave it, but I don't know. I always liked it when it's in the oven. Like if you have an air fryer, same thing. Oh yeah, that's nice. Oh, there's even like golden raisins. Oh, these guys went all out. They got craisins, raisins, golden raisins. You can taste like the allspice, the nutmeg. Actually, this is actually really nicely done. Like I could house these. Oh my. Now here's the best part about it, right? Like, you can just go buy these and eat them. You don't have to be like Christian. Like it's not like it's limited to like Christians to eat. Like everybody can eat it. In fact, I think Christian bakers encourage you to all people to eat these. It's a good way to celebrate nailing that woke guy to the cross. The guy who's all like, let me feed the poor. Let me house the poor. Let me hear your problems. You know. I always grew up like with Christ being like just a figure, right? Like years later, I would meet a friend of mine, become one of my really great friends, who's very Christian, like very evangelical kind of Christianity. In some ways, a little bit too much. But, he was the one that said to me one day, he was like, man, I think we forget that Christ was a carpenter. I was like, yeah, he was a carpenter, but he worked with his hands. Like he was a man's man. Like he worked with his hands. He worked with his fists, right? Like when he went to the market, he beat those people down. I was like, oh, that's probably a good one. Oh, it's good. Anton says, maybe the different raisins types present the different directions of, oh, man, for a guy that eschews religion, that's some deep thought there. All I got to say is that if that's the case, diversity makes it better. Because that's actually hella good. But I must not eat more. Because I'm also under restriction, right? Because today is Friday. And if you're Catholic, I don't know if Christians follow this, right? Like, I don't know if that's something Christian, but Catholics do. And the problem is that since I grew up Catholic, and I still believe in it, I feel bound by its rules. Like, specifically this time of year, like on Fridays, you're not supposed to eat meat, which is a problem because I like eating meat. I don't like to think too much about it. I like to go out and eat, and like that's what I like to do. And so if I don't remember and I eat meat, well, okay, that's all right. But if I know I can't, if I'm conscious of it, I cannot go out and get it. Like I'm like last Friday I was out, and then I remembered, oh man, it's Friday, son of a gun. The start of Lent, this is terrible. So I called up Chick-fil-A because years ago, Chick-fil-A, my local Chick-fil-A used to have a fish sandwich, and it was really great. And I didn't feel like going to McDonald's. So I'm like, man, where can I get something to eat? I was super hungry. And I was like, because there's like sometimes I won't eat until like 3, 4 in the afternoon. It's like, oh man, I really need to eat. And so I'm out, and I was like, I'm driving. I was like, oh, I'll just go to this. And then so I'm thinking, okay, I can't eat meat. But then suddenly I was thinking, I got to eat cheap. And I'm like, oh, there's a 7-Eleven. I can go to 7-Eleven and get a hot dog. Not even thinking about it. I'm just like, I get a hot dog. Oh no, there's actually a Sam's Club. I wonder if I can get into Sam's Club for free because I don't have membership. My mom has membership. My brother has membership. I belong to Costco. But I'm like, I remember the last time I took my mom to the Sam's Club, there was nobody at the door to challenge you. So I was like, if I can get through the door, then I can get over to the food court. And if I get to the food court, probably they won't check. because they don't do it. They don't do that at Costco. So I walked in. There's nobody there. I was like, "Ooh, okay, got in." And I go up to the counter and I'm looking at what they don't really have a menu. Like at Costco, they have these huge signs on the wall that says what they have to eat. And I was like, they don't have that. So they had a little menu on the table. I was looking. I was like, what do they have? Where's the hot dog? I'm thinking, where's the hot dog? I couldn't find the hot dog. Evidently, they had one. Then I saw the pizza, and I was like, oh, how much is the pizza? And she's like, it's $2.65 with a drink. I was like, $2.65 with a drink? That's a hell of a good deal. What do we have? And she's like, we got meat lovers and cheese. I was like, give me the meat lovers. I'm totally not thinking. I'm like, give me the meat lovers, right? And then as I'm waiting for her to prepare it, it hits me. I was like, oh, today's Friday. I can't be eating meat. I was like, oh, man. And so I had to tell her, I'm sorry. Can you make that a cheese pizza, please? But there's a great deal. If you're looking for a cheap way to eat, $2.65, slice of pizza, and a drink. For me, Diet Dr. Pepper, because it's all Pepsi products. Not a big fan. But Diet Dr. Pepper, I'm a fan. Anton says the best Christ is when elder people put up pictures of Obi-Wan. Oh, gosh, I haven't seen that yet, but that's epic. That'd be epic. And Anton says, I love eating fish, so I have no issue with this. Today I have shashlik. Shashlik, is that right? With wedges in our cafeteria, though. What is shashlik? Is that must be a... I'm presuming that's some kind of... And don't get me wrong, I like fish. I don't mind fish at all. It's more expensive, right? Like, you just can't eat cheaply. Like, I'm in an era of my life where I'm like no longer obsessed with food like I used to. Like, for me, in the old days, food was an adventure. Every meal had to be an adventure in like a great culinary experience. Now I'm at this point where I'm just like, I just need to like not pass out, right? So I'll eat practically anything that I can get, and I want to eat it cheap because now it's so expensive to go out. Like, you go get some meal, it's always gonna be $20. You're like, $20. I don't know how it is in Germany, but here, like in Germany, I can go to the Globus Baumarkt, their home version of Home Depot, where they have a food court like they do at IKEA. That's kind of crazy. And they get the Schweinehaxe, right? The Schweinehaxe, which is the pork knuckle or something like that, pork joint that has all this meat. And I think it's like boiled and then roasted or something like that. At least the last time I was there, 8-9 euros for this Schweinehaxe with a Kaiser roll. I always want to buy, and then some, I think it comes with fries too. So I eat the fries, eat the Schweinehaxe, buy an extra Kaiser roll because there's so much Schweinehaxe that I have to eat it the next morning. And I got breakfast. So that's a good deal. But in America, man, now today, there's no really, like that Sam's Club deal is probably one of the best out there. Basically, skewers with pork and veggies. Well, that's not about fish. Ah, okay. Excellent. I pronounced it well. Good. It's not even a German thing. Oh, it's not. Oh, basically, skewers with pork and veggies and a sharp sauce. Oh, sounds very Middle Eastern in that respect, or maybe Mediterranean. Oh, hot sauce. Okay. Sharp is the German way. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So would the currywurst ketchup or the curry ketchup, is that considered sharp? I'm still trying to get like in the groove. I'm sorry, man, but I'm still trying to get in the groove with the currywurst. Like the currywurst with the frites and the ketchup. I've had it several times. I'm just trying to find the groove with it. It's not totally groove with that. It's probably Hungarian or Croatian if I had to guess. Oh, okay. And currywurst isn't really, okay, yeah, not really spicy. Me, I like the Baronwurst. The Baronwurst is the way to go. That's what I typically will buy here. We have a local German meat purveyor. Actually, pretty darn good. All right. Well, that's our hot cross bun. I don't really have anything else to share with you. In case you might be wondering, like, why am I wearing this shirt? This is what I used to wear at the nightclubs when I was younger. We had a reunion of the nightclub back in 2015, and I bought this shirt. And I got to tell you, when I wore this then, like, it was like super tight. I was like, ah. Now it's like I'm swimming in it. I can't believe it. So bizarre. But I did get dispensation from a priest, right? I told you I went to high school, Catholic high school. So I went to one of the priests and I was like, is there any, because I was kind of worried about like, eternal damnation for this kind of thing. I'm only like 17. So I was like, am I going to die? Am I going to be eternally damned? Because like I'm 17 now. Eternity is kind of a long time from this point. And I was like, is this going to be an issue? He's like, are you pretending to be a priest? No. And then he's like, then there's no issue. I was like, okay, good. There was some blessing going on at the club, but not that kind of blessing, right? Curryverse isn't even that good. Honestly, it's just right. Oh, okay, gotcha. There's a hilarious song called Curryverse by Herbert Grunmeyer. Oh, I'll have to look that up. All right. I guess that's going to be it for today. The hot cross bun, if you have some where you live, go try them out. I mean, I can't say that your experience is going to be this experience, but this is actually very good. Like, I'm very, very surprised at how much I enjoyed this. I thought it was going to be a lot less sweet. I thought it was going to be drier. This is actually pretty darn good. So, all right. Well, that's kind of all I have for you today. Got to go roast some coffee now for the weekend. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend out there. Back again on Monday with more of the Coffee Q&A. So until then, see you next time. Great weekend to you, Ken, Mom, and everyone else as well.